this side of the fjordland now gets around 8 meters of rainfall per annum. It pretty much rains 200 days of the year out here. There is an area a little bit further up north, also towards the west coast, that gets the highest rainfall in the world, and that is 13 meters of rain per year. Just to give you a comparison, Queenstown gets between 8 and 900 millimeters of rainfall per year. So I think that 13 meters is the highest recorded rainfall area in the world. Along here every so often you see on the left hand side of the road some wooden boxes. Those are those stoat traps, and a few years ago they worked out a way for those traps to reset themselves, and since they discovered that, they actually believe they will get on top of that stoat issue in those parks or protected area. It was the longest unsealed road tunnel in the world. Initially it was built for 2 lanes, but then they installed the lights and the cameras, and the coaches don't get any lower, so now during the day hours it's down to 1 lane, but like you can see, 2 cars could quite easily pass each other. There's been a couple of times where a few cars or even a couple of coaches on the way out in the tunnel caught fire, and since then they've really been on to the tour operators to make sure that the engine bay is as oil free as possible, even ask to steam clean that engine bay before the summer. So yeah, a little bit more about those Kea birds. They're a native bird to New Zealand. They're the only surviving mountain parrot in the world. And at one stage there was a bounty on them. The farmers thought they were killing their lambs. The idea was to control them on the farmland, but then the hunters ended up in some more remote areas hunting for them, and the numbers got quite low to a degree where they needed to be protected. So even with being protected, their future still a little bit uncertain. The number hasn't increased as much as they thought they would increase by, but in saying that, it's a bird that sort of had to readjust itself to at least 3 complete different environments over its lifespan. So they're not really worried, they know they're always gonna survive. With belonging to the parrot family, they're very clever and they learn very fast. And they are attracted to anything that has rubber on it. And like you probably saw them there on top of cars, taking anything apart that has rubber on. And I'm talking about taking stuff apart, not just playing with it. They work in groups. There was a situation where a couple of tourists had something to eat outside their camper van, and 2 of those Kea birds keep coming up and begging for food. They keep chasing them away, and suddenly out of the nowhere another 3 Keas appeared on their windscreen, playing with their windscreen wipers, and they thought, oh, I had quite a good chance to take up some close-up photos of them. As they did that, the other 2 stole the food and flew away. And the minute the other 2 flew away with the food, so did the 3 that were playing on the windscreen. Most places where tourists stop and they are around, there is a no feeding sign. There are 2 reasons for that. One is that they shouldn't turn into beggars. They still need to be able to hunt for their own food. And the second reason is quite often they end up staying on the cars as the car drives away, and somebody may need to teach them the principle of flight. Then they would probably realize they're not actually a helicopter. What happens then, the car speeds up and then they want to fly away and they got the wings set the wrong way and they fall straight back onto the road and get run over by the next car. Not as much a problem around here, but further up on the west coast it is a big issue, and I have seen some do exactly that here by the tunnel. They stay on the car and just before the car gets into the tunnel they fly away, but they learn very quick and they know they need to fly off to the side in order to be cleared from the next car. They got quite colourful wings underneath. The reason for that is their only predators are falcons, and falcons hunt from the top, so from the ground up they've got no predators, so that's why they got the colours under the wings. So we're just driving up towards that Homer tunnel, which sort of proposed the biggest issue when they built this road. And I read up that at the beginning 5 guys with pick, shovel and wheelbarrow started building on this tunnel, and out of those 5, 3 got killed by avalanche within the first few years. So avalanche and rock slide are common threat even in today's time. You probably saw some of those big boulders on the side of the road. They did not get placed there, they came down from the side of the mountains. One of the main obstacles they had when they were building this tunnel was that hardness of that rock. Like I sort of mentioned earlier on, the rock has changed since, or since we entered the park to what it is up here. Up here it's now part of those southern Alp rocks, and it's a very solid granite. Matter of fact, I actually believe it's one of the hardest granites on earth, and I believe some of that rock up here is as old as 3 million years old. So this place here got the name Knobs Flat, and if you look to the left you probably can see where that name originated from. And under those knobs, or I call them bumps, is actually rock. It's just a deposit that got left behind when the glacier disappeared and eventually got covered up with some soil through the wind. The temperature in that whole Eglinton Valley keeps a couple of at least actually around 5 degrees cooler pretty much all year round. So when there is a frost out here, it pretty much stays frosty all day long. There's just not enough air mixing happening amongst those big mountains for the temperature to rise and the frost to disappear. Down here. So if you want to go hunting in any of the national parks here in New Zealand, you go to the Department of Conservation and you tell them how long you want to go hunting for, and they allocate an area for you, and they make sure that while you're in that area hunting, you're the only one in there, and you can hunt as much as you like. There's only one issue here in New Zealand with the bush, and that it's very, very dense on the bottom. And on a too regular basis, even experienced hunters don't show up when they say they will show up, and then it becomes a bit like looking for a needle in a haystack, even knowing the area where they are in. Some years ago there was a situation up in Auckland where a couple of tourists did a walkway just on the outskirts of the city, and they decided to leave that walkway and they couldn't find their way back onto the track. It was late autumn. They ended up spending the night outside in the bush. They found them the next morning, lucky enough unharmed, but there was quite a bit of debating about how that could happen within the biggest city in this country. And they say here in the bush you can be as little as 5 meters away from a track. You cannot see that track. That's how dense that bush is. And I've talked to a lot of experienced hunters over the years, and they all pretty much say the same thing. They would never go into a national park, certainly not one like around here in today's time, without a GPS. They would be struggling to come out alive. They believe from this Fjordland National Park, over 70% of that park has never been walked on by humans, just because of its sheer size and remoteness. So the next stop we're going to do is called Mirror Lakes. There is a walkway that goes around those lakes. Even on a day like today, still a great chance to take some amazing photos. So what I'll do is I will drop you off on one side of that walkway. You will be able to see it quite clearly, and I drive the coach 50 meters along the road to the other side of that track, and I'll pick you up on the other side of that. Valley. They know this valley is not man-made. They believe a lightning strike hit the bush and burned the bush off per annum. All the native trees in this country are protected. They've been protected for the last 20 years. And when they first introduced that law to protect those native trees, it didn't take them long to see some evidence of illegal cutting in some of those more remote areas. Don't know if any of you ever seen a Rimu furniture. Rimu, a very native tree to New Zealand that makes a coloured furniture that just about blends in with anything else you've got in a house. And even 20 years ago, a mature Rimu tree was worth about $15,000 to $20,000. So once they discovered that there was quite a bit of that illegal cutting happening, they had to sort of come up with a way to control it or police it a bit better. So what they did is they made the sawmills a lot more responsible. They virtually put pressure on them, saying if we find out you milling a native tree without the permit, we prosecute and fine you. The idea was that somebody might be able to cut down a native tree, but he won't find anyone to mill it for him. All he can virtually do with it is firewood. And that tourists driving quite wide vehicles, nearly as wide as a truck or a coach on quite a windy road, quite a high contribution part to that high rate. But because it is a state highway, they cannot ban camper vans from driving in. For that, the government would need to do a law change, and that's not even on the cards to be looked at. However, over the last few years, there has been a bit of push to make booking agencies aware to tell their clients to leave the car either in Queenstown or in Tiano and catch a coach, that they will enjoy it more. Here on the left hand side you see some of those manuka trees, where that famous manuka honey originates from, quite heavily used in the natural remedy and beautician. And the timber from those trees is very sought after for smoking fish or eels. Gives out a very unique flavor that's very sought after for smoking. Apparently the first Europeans, or not the first Europeans, the first sailors that stepped on foot on land around here used those manuka trees to make tea. It's supposed to have some healing ability, even as a tea. Tasted absolutely bitter and horrible, but supposed to have healing abilities. So I'm not sure where that healing ability comes from, if those guys were just too scared to drink it again and suddenly felt better, or if it actually had some healing abilities. And also a lot of the miners trusted Reese with their gold to be transported across the lake to Kingston and then by railway through to Dunedin or Invercargill.
ちょっと の方向へ右方向です。およそ200メートル。
あっち取ろうか。
これ止めなあかん。
危ないからね。右の方で左の方に行っても。あら、ないじゃない。あかんな。きれいくなくなってから。 で見るよりかも遠くに見えるね。
広角。
たんびにこのボコボコつけてんねんね。でそれがでも信号の代わりやねんね。信号で止まるような感じや。このボコボコ。多いな。
7km